Hello and welcome to Overdrive. I am Rohit Paradkar. This is the new Thar Roxx, the 5-door version of the Thar. We already brought you a walk around video yesterday and I promised you that today I'm going to give you all the technical details of it. So without wasting any further time, let's just quickly take a look at all the oily bits. Right, so we've already spoken about the design, but here, since we don't have too much crowd, I'm going to quickly show you three colors. That's the white that you saw yesterday. There's also the black, and then there is this gray. And I think this gray looks really good. But like I promised you, this is going to be more of the technical details and less of all the design, right? Now, under that hood, you're going to get two engine options, and they're going to be in varied states of tune, of course. So the base variants are going to have the lesser outputs, but the top end variants, the higher variants, those are going to be the more popular ones. So the petrol engine is going to be the G20 TGDI, that's the turbo direct injection petrol, and that's going to put out 177 PS of power and 380 Newton meters of torque, and that torque is going to come from as low as 1750 RPM. So it's produced from 1750 to 3000 RPM, and they've ensured a flat torque curve even for the petrol variant. It'll go from 0 to 60 in about 5 seconds. That is what Mahindra is claiming. Now the diesel is going to be even quicker. The diesel is going to put out 175 PS, which is slightly lesser, 370 Newton meters of torque, which also sounds slightly lesser, but it will do 0 to 60 in 4.8 seconds because the torque is coming in early, and of course the diesel, that punchy torque, is going to help it get that quick acceleration, not just off the mark, but also roll on as well. How that performs really out in the real world is something that we will tell you in our review. But of course, like I said, a flat torque curve was the aim for the petrol and the diesel engine. Now, they are calling it the Glide platform, GLYDE, the Glide platform. Now, this is essentially based on similar underpinnings as the Scorpio. Similar. I'm not going to say exactly the same because the chassis is now 179 kgs. That's about 18% lighter than the ladder frame that is used in the Scorpio N, right? So it's lighter. It's got 88% high strength steels, and the chassis itself, the ladder itself. Now, if you imagine the ladder down below, it's made up of 200 subsections. So they have been able to sort of weld them together and get a more bespoke design for the chassis that they wanted for better rigidity, better cornering, better drivability, etc. So that is what they've gone with. Whereas the body that sits on top, this is a ladder frame, so it's a body on frame, right? So the body that sits on top is, imagine 5 roll cages welded together to create the body. So there's one for the engine compartment, of course, and then the A pillar, B pillar, C pillar. So imagine it that way, 5 rings, 5 rectangular rings, if I may put it that way, coming together, welded together to form the body shell. So that is what the chassis is going to be. Now this chassis is suspended from an independent double wishbone up front, and at the rear you're going to get a multi-axle, or the pentalink, the 5-link suspension that you will get at the rear. Now there's also a Watts linkage. So if we just quickly go down below, like I said, you're going to get the multi-linkage, and there's also the Watts linkage. We saw that last on the Ford Endeavour, and that should hopefully give this car really good driving dynamics as well. Now the suspension itself, it's got the FDD suspension, again a tech that we saw on the Scorpio N. That's the frequency dependent damping. So that's what you're going to get. Now the rear axle on this car is 190 kilos by itself. Sitting on the rear axle for the 4x4 variants is going to be the ELD, or electronically locking differential. That means when you're off-roading, for example, when one of the wheel is up in the air, it will just cut power to that wheel, right? That's the engine started there. That's the diesel. It's got a bit of that clatter maybe that you can hear. Anyway, so like I was saying, one of the wheels, if it's up in the air, it's going to cut power to that wheel. It's going to provide power only to the wheel that has traction. And there's also the brake lock differential, which is for the front and the rear axle, where it will use the brake to, again, aid traction. So these are the ELD and the BLD that you're going to get with the vehicle. Now, in terms of off-road capability, you've got 600 millimeters of wading depth, 650 millimeters of wading depth, The approach angle is going to be 41.7 degrees. The departure angle is going to be 36.1 degrees. And the breakover angle, now let me remind you again, this is the Fido, right? So it's sitting on a longer wheelbase. The breakover angle is going to be 23.9 degrees. Like we showed you yesterday, you have various terrain modes as well: snow, mud, sand. So it is, of course, going to tune make the 4x4 system behave differently. There's traction control that will come into play as well. So it's a combination of the electronics plus the actual 4x4 hardware that will tune it for snow, mud, and sand. And then there's also the IntelliTurn Assist. So when you are in four-wheel low, when you are negotiating, say, tighter sections in while off-roading, maybe through the woods or whatever, that time you are going to get the brakes to brakes to be applied on the inner wheels so that your turning radius reduces quite a bit. So those are few of the tech that go into this car. So I hope I have given you all the oily bits that you were waiting to know. Now these engines that I told you, the ones with the 177 PS or 175 PS outputs for petrol and diesel respectively, these are going to be available only on the top end variants, mid and top end variants of the Thar Roxx. So let me know what are your thoughts on the tech specs. Thank you so much for watching this one. Stay tuned for the review. It should be out very soon.